Okay, water. What are we doing about water? Good question, huh? So we have a situation here where the world will run out of water. There'll be 40% more demand for water than there is supply just 12 years from now. Half of the world's citizens will live in water-stressed areas. And by the way, if you think you're in the Midwest, you've got a lot of water, think again. The Ogallala Aquifer is running dry. So we have a problem, and we have an industry, which is a $1 trillion industry, which needs to accelerate to cope with that crisis. But now it's a $1 trillion industry, but it's also old school. One of the biggest problems we've got is that the infrastructure is broken. In America, for example, it's going to take $250 billion to fix the water infrastructure, and I don't think that's going to be done anytime soon. So what's happening is that municipalities, the sewage plants, are refusing the sewage. Like, no, you give us treated water. They're requiring treated water from the factories, the schools, the agricultural farms. Everyone's got to treat their own water. It's called forced decentralization. Ironic, given that we're at a decentralization conference. This is exactly what's happening in the water industry. Now, if you're Intel, you don't want to clean the water. You're going to delegate it to someone else, and you're also going to delegate the capital problem. You're Intel. You can afford a $5 or $10 million water system, but now you delegate it to a water service company. That's harder for them to do. So that's a real problem for the industry. But there is a trend towards, and this is the opportunity, there's this trend towards outsourcing, towards modular systems, IoT devices, and that's really the nexus where we find ourselves. I'm the CEO of a public company that's been 10 years commercializing a technology in the water industry. And I'm told we're getting to the end of the path because it takes 12 to 14 years, apparently, to commercialize water technology. So I know the problem intimately. We've been a public company for all this time, and now we see this chance to make a change. I'll talk some more about this. So one of the things we faced when we looked at doing a blockchain initiative was, how do we bring it about? We don't have 12 to 14 years for a WaterChain, for a blockchain technology to take root. In other words, we can't go to the water industry and go, please adopt this, please do the blockchain with us, and they'll go, what? It's all good. And I say this with all the love for the water industry because they've got public health requirements to deal with. They have huge liability issues. It's natural that they would be conservative. But if we're talking about putting blockchain in, how are we going to do it? And then we suddenly realized that we could simply fund our own ideal systems using the power of crypto funding. And through a series of rolling coin offerings, fund these special purpose vehicles that would attack initially just one water treatment project and do it perfectly at the speed of the tech industry. I came out of the dot-com. We know how to move fast. So we make it happen fast. We use the best practices, the best real-time devices. We use the blockchain where appropriate, and offline technologies, off-blockchain technologies married into it for perfect implementations of real-time, distributed, modular water treatment systems, starting with one and expanding from there. Now, it's very simple. How do we do it? Again, coin offerings that people everywhere, and you know what? If you reply to one of my newsletters, it will come into my inbox. And I get a lot of people saying, Riggs, I really care about what you do. Please change the world. Can you do better? And you know, the hurricanes, oh my God, there was all these people so concerned about the water quality. And my friend Enrique knows all about that from Puerto Rico. And you know, there's such a desire to change the world by fixing the water, that people can actually participate directly in water treatment systems that are ideal, rapid, and expanding, hopefully, in a geometrical progression, right? Okay, now here's a little chart. It'll show you kind of what this is all about. It's pretty obvious. The project management company is WaterChain, Inc., a subsidiary of a public company Origin, Clear. And then we're going to set up first one treatment facility funded by crypto investors. It's going to generate intellectual property learnings that we will roll into the next and the next and the next. And the water users, I mean, let me tell you, you go up to a water user and you go, just sign here, let's negotiate a price per metric ton of water treated, and we're rolling. They will do it. They will do these deals. So the water user gets the benefit, no capital cost, just operating expense, very efficient. And then we go to number 2, number 3, et cetera, et cetera. Simply a growing progression of perfect systems. Now, what drives the water industry more than anything else? What drives you? Money. If the water industry sees capital flowing into water treatment systems, they will put up their hands and participate, as opposed to us saying, please use the blockchain. Instead, we create the shining house on the hill, and they come to us because the capital is there, the use cases are fantastic, their concerns about public health and liability are satisfied. We've run everything, proper, securities regulated, the whole thing. So this is a properly done rollout of this new technology. I did something. I hit a button. Here we go. Okay. So our mission is very simple. We're going to, create a decentralized water treatment system using the great technology that's out there. We're not replacing existing players. There's some great device manufacturers who are already cloud-enabled. There's every single player is out there. People who make these drag-and-drop water treatment systems and just drop them in the ground and put them to work. These people are out there. And the people who are going to fund it are every single person who cares about water in the world. So this is really not just about the US. It's about solving water problems in every country in the world. I'd like you to go to waterchain.io, register. This is the very first time we're really laying out this vision publicly. So you're catching us right at the right moment. I'd love to have your input. And I think I have a few moments for questions. Or have I totally covered it? Masterfully.
Are you limited to the US?
This is a global play, all right? And one of the great ways we can get into other countries, who are the best early adopters? It's the NGOs. It's the nonprofits. Because their problem is they raise $1 million for some project in Central Africa. Well, they have huge transparency and corruption issues. So they will like something like this because they can have this, the use of the blockchain is perfect for establishing trust if done properly. So I see now, Origin Clear, the mother company, we're primarily operating in Asia already. We're in China, Malaysia, India, Thailand, as well as in Europe. We're in Spain, North Africa. Before the US, we found adoption elsewhere because the US is very conservative. What is the problem with the US? Okay, who recycles the most water in the world? Anybody know? Israel. 80% of Israel's water is recycled. Okay, what's the number 2 country in the world? Spain. Spain, 20%. 80, 20. Where's the US? 1%. So, what does that tell us? It tells us that the early adopters are not in the US. You don't want the most laggard culture to be your early adopters. You want the most, we saw that life cycle graph with the early adopters. That's where it's at. So the early adopters are in South Asia. They're in Africa. They're in Europe. They're in North Africa. Algeria has decreed that they're going to meet European standards or else, right? And they can do it. So I believe it's going to be international first, but for purposes of control, I think our first one would be in the US because we want to do a really good first use case and really establish something fantastic for the future.
If anyone else has other questions afterwards, then please take this opportunity and ask all of our speakers any other questions, queries, if you want to know more, then find them and make the most of this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.